I'm David Rawsthorn and I'm the Head of Sales and Marketing here at the Swanage Railway.
So tell me about Swanage Railway and what you do here.
Swanage Railway is one of the premier heritage railways in the United Kingdom, and we link Corfe Castle to the beautiful Victorian town, seaside town of Swanage. And my job here is very simple. I promote the railway and also Swanage.
And how has the railway survived? Obviously it's a heritage railway. How was it saved?
Well, basically we are 400 volunteers plus a small paid staff, and in the 1970s a group of people got together to save the railway when it was closed by British Railways. They got access to the station building and painstakingly laid all the track back to Corfe Castle and then to Norden. It took nearly 25 years to manage that.
And how was that achieved?
Well, some people say by hook or by crook, by beg, stealing and borrowing, and by an awful lot of hard work and the support of the people of Swanage.
But the whole process took a lot of negotiation.
It did indeed. We had to negotiate with Dorset Council over the use of some of the track bed, and also with Swanage Town Council for the use of the station site.
And what service do you now provide?
We now run every day from the end of March to the end of October, and then we also run at weekends during the winter.
What engines do you run on this line?
They're principally steam locomotives from the 1940s and 1950s.
But you also have some diesel as well?
We also have some diesel locos from the early 1960s to reflect that period when British Railways was changing over from steam to diesel.
And which is your sort of most special engine here?
Probably Manston is one of our most special locomotives. It's a Battle of Britain class Bullied Pacific, dates from the late 1940s, and is a big favourite with a lot of our visitors.
And what's special about it?
Just the fact that it took ages and ages and ages to rebuild. It needed a huge amount of work, again almost built up from the frame upwards, and it's just a beautiful locomotive.
And you're also trying to restore more locomotives?
Yeah, we've always got projects ongoing. There are no fewer than 3 in the workshops at the moment, so hopefully one will make an appearance later on this year or early next year.
And which one's that?
That should be 31874, which is an N-class mogul locomotive of the 1920s.
You obviously have your permanent engines here, but you also have visitors.
Yeah, we get visitors 2 or 3 times a year. Earlier this year we had the lovely Flying Scotsman here. We also had a Class 5 standard locomotive at the October Steam Gala. So every year 2 or 3 locos come as guests for a short while.
Tell me about the experience of having the Flying Scotsman here.
Well, that was probably the busiest time we've ever had on the railway. It was absolutely packed for 5 whole days when we ran Flying Scotsman in 6 carriages up and down the line. It was the most fantastic experience, as it was just great to see the railway packed every single day.
I hear you had to take good care of her while she was here.
Absolutely. She is a national treasure. She's owned by the nation and looked after by the Science Museum Group on behalf of the nation. And they are very particular about how she's looked after. The water, the lubricants, even the coal we put in the firebox have all got to be very carefully chosen.
And she came with her own crew?
Yep, comes her own crew from Bury in Lancashire who look after her and make sure that she's in absolute tip-top condition at all times.
And so what are your plans here for the future? What's up your sleeve? What are we going to be able to offer?
Well, we're hoping in the longer term that we'll be able to run steam up to the mainline station at Wareham. In the interim, it will be a diesel service, but long term, a steam service back to Wareham.
And what will that mean to people?
Well, it'll do 2 things. It will give a much needed transport link on the Isle of Purbeck, help taking cars off the road, but it will also cement Swanage's place as being a great tourist attraction where there's lots to see and do. Come by steam train to the seaside town, go on the pier and eat fish and chips. A great day out.
The idea of the heritage railway here is to sort of save some of the links that were being lost.
Yes. Well, a huge number of seaside towns lost their links in the late 1960s and early 1970s. We're fortunate that ours has been restored, but we're hoping that other links will be restored around the country, providing people both the tourist experience and also an alternative means of transport.
And what do you think your biggest challenge is here?
The biggest challenge here is finding the people. We have currently 400 volunteers and we need more. Even on a simple day like today, we've probably got 50 staff working somewhere on the railway, so we need more volunteers to come and help us run this beautiful railway.
And how can people get in touch to help out?
We have a volunteer recruitment officer called Jackie, and she can be reached at the email address iwanttovolunteer@swanagerailway.co.uk, and Jackie will send you a little form asking what you're interested in, and then you can reply to us and we'll invite you down to the railway so you can have a day on the railway seeing what there is to be done.
And what is here for the visitors? You run some special events?
Yeah, we run special events. Obviously, we're coming up towards Christmas, so we have the Santa specials and the Christmas dining trains. We do galas, we have a classic transport rally, all sorts of things every year. Some things are new and change, and some things stay the same. But there's lots to see and do on the railway.
And out of the visitors that come here, what are some of the most frequently asked questions?
When can I get to Wareham is perhaps the most frequently asked question, followed by who does the best fish and chips in town?
And so what do you say?
We normally say there are two very good fish and chip shops right on the seafront, a blue one and a green one. Flip a coin and take your pick.
A train is approaching platform number 2. Please stand away from the platform edge. Do not touch the train until it has stopped moving. Once arrived, this will form the delayed 1400 service to Harmans Cross, Cove Castle and Norden. Passengers for Hurston Hope must tell the guard before departure. Prams and bicycles should be placed in the luggage van towards the centre of the train.
That's the 2-minute bell.
Okay.
It triggers a circuit just to the side of the signal down there, about half a mile away.
Yeah.
So that's how we know it's on its way. Obviously, the steam locomotive is now approaching the station, coming into platform 2 here at Swanage.
Approaching platform number 2, please stand away from the platform edge.
Security is of paramount importance and safety.
Do not
There we
touch
go.
the train until it has stopped moving.
This is the
Once
T9
arrived, this will
30120.
1400 service to Harmans Cross, Cove Castle and Norden.
This is a Victorian era locomotive built in 1905. So it's quite impressive with the sort of nearly open cab. And on cue, it stopped right by us. Yeah, we're about to do a crew changeover, as you can see. This time of day it's crew changeover. The early crew are now finishing and the late crew are now boarding. And what's going to happen now is the loco's going to detach, run back, and will then run round to go to the front of the formation to take it back up to Cove Castle and Norden.
So how many people do you have coming to the railway over the year?
About 200,000. It varies a little bit, sometimes slightly under, sometimes up to about 220. So that's normally an average of round about 900 to 1,000 people a day.
That's quite a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. It's more than the branch line carried in its normal working life.
And presumably you run as a charity and put the money back into
Yeah,
preserving.
it's a charity, so any sort of profit goes back in for restoration of carriages, locomotives, infrastructure. You know, it's just all ploughed back in. A locomotive like this costs about £1 million to restore now, and that includes a great deal of free labour from volunteers who do all sorts of jobs. You know, some of the more specialist stuff has to go out to contractors like boiler fabrication, boiler making, but the bulk of it, the straightforward repairs and maintenance, is done in-house by our own people, mainly volunteers. Bringing some coal down from the back of the tender. You have to make sure that you use the coal evenly and that you don't just take it from the front, otherwise you get old coal at the back. And if it's out in the open and gets wet coal doesn't burn very well at all, obviously. So we always make sure that we drag some of it forward so it's always used up in order.
Okay.
It's going to pull back, the points will then change, and the loco will run round to the front of the carriage formation and couple up at the far end.
I suppose, like with modern trains, you're more used to the fact that it would have an engine at either end.
That's right, yeah, yeah. Yes, modern locomotives are effectively a power car at each end. Yeah, I heard the sound of the points changing, so
Yeah.
he now moves forward. Opening up the regulator quite a bit. As you can hear the deep chuff noise. You'll now go down to the front of the locomotive, of the train formation, and couple up the other end. Yes, he now pulls forward, and obviously we change the points again, and then he'll back onto the front of the carriages and couple up, and then away he will eventually go. Got 5 carriages in the formation today, so we can carry round about 300 people on each train. The moment of truth is about to happen. Quick look round for any last minute passengers running to catch the train. There are none. The guards now appeared from the middle carriage.
Platform 2 is ready to leave. Please stand away from the train. Do not try to board.
Yep. Guards given the hand signal. Yep. Whistles blown. Right. Showing the green flag. Driver's given the acknowledgement. Guard has boarded. And any second now, we should be on our way. Yep. Ever so gently, ever so slowly, we pull out of the station.
And this is what makes the Swanage Railway really special, the experience the people are having today that they wouldn't have had otherwise if it hadn't been saved.
Yeah, exactly. 200,000 people a year enjoy this experience, and it's a hark back to the 1950s and earlier.
And it teaches everybody about the past.
Well, it is. It's about the history. I mean, railways were so important. Before mass motoring and the mass ownership of cars in the 1950s, early 60s, and later, the train was the way to get around for a lot of people. And that was it. You'd come on to your holidays by train. There was no other way of getting there, really. Oh, and the last carriage is just disappearing under Northbrook Road Bridge on its way to Harman's Cross.